Chapter 3. First who, then what? The next factor that Collins identifies as part of the good to great process is the nature of the leadership team. Specifically, Collins advances the concept that the process of securing high-quality, high-talent individuals with level 5 leadership abilities must be undertaken before an overarching strategy can be developed. With the right people in the right positions, Collins contends that many of the management problems that plague companies and sap valuable resources will automatically dissipate. As such, he argues, firms seeking to make the good to great transition may find it worthwhile to expend extra energy and time on personnel searches and decision-making. Collins also underscores the importance of maintaining rigorousness in all personnel decisions. He recommends moving potentially failing employees and managers to new positions, but not hesitating to remove personnel who are not actively contributing. He also recommends that hiring should be delayed until an absolutely suitable candidate has been identified. Hewing to both of these guidelines, Collins claims, will likely save time, effort, and resources in the long term. Chapter 4. Confront the brutal facts, yet never lose faith. Another key element of some companies' unique ability to make the transition from good to great is the willingness to identify and assess defining facts in the company and in the larger business environment. In today's market, trends and consumer preferences are constantly changing, and the inability to keep pace with these changes often results in company failure. Using the example of an extended comparative analysis of Kroger and A&P, Collins observes that Kroger recognized the trend towards modernization in the grocery industry and adjusted its business model accordingly, although doing so required a complete transformation of the company and its stores. A&P, on the other hand, resisted large-scale change, and thus guaranteed its own demise. Collins outlines a 4-step process to promote awareness of emerging trends and potential problems. 1. Lead with questions, not answers. 2. Engage in dialogue and debate, not coercion. 3. Conduct autopsies without blame. And 4. Build red flag mechanisms that turn information into information that cannot be ignored. Chapter 5. The Hedgehog Concept. Simplicity within the 3 circles. In this chapter, Collins uses the metaphor of the hedgehog to illustrate the seemingly contradictory principle that simplicity can sometimes lead to greatness. When confronted by predators, the hedgehog's simple but surprisingly effective response is to roll up into a ball. While other predators, such as the fox, may be impressively clever, few can devise a strategy that is effective enough to overcome the hedgehog's simple, repetitive response. Similarly, Collins asserts, the way to make the transformation from good to great is often not doing many things well, but instead, doing one thing better than anyone else in the world. It may take time to identify the single function that will be a particular firm's hedgehog concept, but those who do successfully identify it are often rewarded with singular success. In order to help expedite this process, Collins suggests using the following 3 criteria. 1. Determine what you can be best in the world at and what you cannot be best in the world at. 2. Determine what drives your economic engine. And 3. Determine what you are deeply passionate about.
Chapter 6. A Culture of Discipline. Another defining characteristic of the companies that Collins defined as great in his study was an overarching organizational culture of discipline. He is quick to point out that a culture of discipline is not to be confused with a strict authoritarian environment. Instead, Collins is referring to an organization in which each manager and staff member is driven by an unrelenting inner sense of determination. In this type of organization, each individual functions as an entrepreneur, with a deeply rooted personal investment in both their own work and the company's success. Although this discipline will manifest itself in a high standard of quality in the work that is produced by managers and employees alike, its most significant outcome will be an almost fanatical devotion to the objectives outlined in the Hedgehog Concept exercises. Disciplined workers will be better equipped to adhere to these goals with the single-minded intensity that, according to Collins, will foster the transformation from merely good to great. In addition, the author asserts, it is important that within this overarching culture of discipline, every team member is afforded the degree of personal empowerment and latitude that is necessary to ensure that they will be able to go to unheard-of extremes to bring the firm's envisioned objectives into existence. Chapter 7, Technology Accelerators. Today, many businesses have come to depend upon technology to increase efficiency, reduce overhead, and maximize competitive advantage. However, Collins cautions that technology should not be regarded as a potential panacea for all that ails a company. The folly of this kind of thinking was revealed in the aftermath of the crash of the tech bubble in the early 2000s. The market correction threw into sharp relief the differences between sustainable uses of the Internet to extend established businesses and ill-planned, unviable online startups. Collins contends that the good-to-great companies approach the prospect of new and emerging technologies with the same prudence and careful deliberation that characterizes all of their other business decisions. Further, these companies tend to apply technology in a manner that is reflective of their hedgehog concepts, typically by selecting and focusing solely upon the development of a few technologies that are fundamentally compatible with their established strengths and objectives. Collins characterizes the ideal approach to technology with the following cycle: pause, think, crawl, walk, run. Chapter 8, The Flywheel and the Doom Loop. In this chapter, Collins describes two cycles that demonstrate the way that business decisions tend to accumulate incrementally in either an advantageous or a disadvantageous manner. Both, the author emphasizes, accrue over time. Despite the popular misconception that business success or failure often occurs suddenly, Collins asserts that it more typically occurs over the course of years, and that both only transpire after sufficient positive or negative momentum has been accrued. Collins describes the advantageous business cycle that, in some cases, can foster the transition from good to great as the flywheel effect. By making decisions and taking actions that reinforce and affirm the company's hedgehog competencies, executives initiate positive momentum. This, in turn, results in the accumulation of tangible positive outcomes, which serve to energize and earn the investment and loyalty of the staff. This revitalization of the team serves to further build momentum. If the cycle continues to repeat in this manner, the transition from good to great is likely to transpire. In contrast, the doom loop is characterized by reactive decision-making, and overextension into too many diverse areas of concentration, following short-lived trends, frequent changes in leadership and personnel, loss of morale, and disappointing results. Chapter 9, From Good to Great to Built to Last. In the concluding chapter of Good to Great, Collins makes a connection between this book and his previous work, Built to Last, which represented the findings of a 6-year study into the factors that determined whether a new company would survive in the long term. First and foremost, Collins contends that companies need a set of core values in order to achieve the kind of long-term, sustainable success that may lead to greatness. Companies need to exist for a higher purpose than mere profit generation in order to transcend the category of merely good. According to Collins, this purpose does not have to be specific, even if the shared values that compel the company towards success are as open-ended as being the best at what they do and achieving excellence consistently. That may be sufficient as long as the team members are equally dedicated to the same set of values. Although many of the conclusions of both of the books overlap, Collins notes that Good to Great should not be seen as the follow-up to Built to Last, which focuses on sustaining success in the long term. Instead, Good to Great actually functions as a prequel to Built to Last. First, A company should focus on developing the foundation that is necessary to work toward greatness. Then, they can begin to apply the principles of longevity that are set forth in Built to Last.